is Ethan Barker, and my research paper is over the death penalty. The death penalty in the United States. Should it stay? The death penalty has remained a controversial matter in the United States for years, dividing its people on whether it is a morally acceptable method of justice or a savage and outdated form of punishment. As far as I am concerned, the death penalty should be allowed in the United States, but only for the most horrific crimes. Specifically, the death penalty is only to be used on individuals who have elected to commit first-degree murder, child rape, and large-scale drug dealing, and other crimes of that magnitude. These are offenses so atrocious and detrimental to society that the most severe punishment must be served. However, having done research on opposing sides since beginning my project, I have understood why others believe the death penalty needs to be eliminated entirely. In this essay, I am going to examine arguments for and against the death penalty, as well as offer my shifting viewpoint on this controversial issue. Arguments supporting the death penalty. Death penalty proponents argue that the death penalty is a deterrent for the most severe crimes and provides justice to the victims and their families. It is in one published work by Gross and co-authors. Authors observe that the death penalty is most frequently regarded as a necessary method to punish instigators of dreadful crimes of violence. They believe capital punishment serves a symbolic purpose, reinforcing the seriousness of certain crimes and emphasizing that society will not tolerate such behavior. This argument resonates with me because I believe that certain crimes are so heinous that life imprisonment is not enough. People who commit acts such as serial murder or child rape have shown that they do not care about human life, and their actions must be punished with the maximum penalty. Another reason why the death penalty should be upheld is that it brings closure to victim families. Death of a beloved due to a brutal crime is something no family ought to go through, and being assured that the criminal has been given the ultimate punishment can give them a sense of justice. Though the process in the court of law in the case of death penalty cases take a long time, the certainty of the punishment guarantees that the criminal can never hurt anyone else. For first-degree killers, drug lords who overdose neighborhoods with deadly drugs, and child rapists who ruin innocent lives, the death penalty conveys a straightforward message. There are some actions that cannot be redeemed. Arguments against the death penalty. Conversely, the opponents of the penalty maintain that the practice is inhumane, costly, and liable to wrong conviction. In her essay, Why the Death Penalty Should Be Abolished, author Diane Russ Tierney argues that the death penalty system is greatly flawed and discriminatory against marginalized groups. Russ Tierney states the death penalty is imposed in a discriminatory way, with minorities and those with lower socioeconomic status being sentenced to death at significantly higher rates than affluent defendants with superior legal counsel. This was an argument that made me stop and think, as I had not really thought through before how the bias of the justice system could play a role in who is sentenced to death. Although I'm still convinced the death penalty for the most heinous crimes, I appreciate the need for the process to be just and the innocent individuals not to be put to death. Another strong argument against the death penalty is the risk of wrongful convictions. According to the Innocence Project, over 190 people in the United States have been exonerated after they have already been sentenced to death. To see that number disturbed me, to understand how imperfect our justice system could be. With all the technology of DNA and technology today, mistakes are made. This does not change my view that the worst criminals must be put to death, but it underscores the importance of absolute care and higher standards of evidence for capital cases. If society wants to keep the death penalty at all, we have to go through some guarantees that only the guilty are executed, and every effort can be made to prevent racial and economic bias determining who receives the death penalty. Reflection. Having searched both arguments for and against the death penalty, I have now a better balanced opinion than when I first started. I still believe the death penalty can employed for the most atrocious crimes, but now I realize the system is not perfect and needs to be rectified. The death penalty should be reserved for crimes like first-degree murder, mass drug dealing, and that kills thousands, and child rape. These crimes are so heinous that the criminals do not merit staying within society any longer. However, this punishment must be meted out impartially and only when guilt is positively established. Learning more about the racial and economic disparity of death sentencing made me think we need change. If the death penalty is to remain, we need more protection to guarantee representation for all, and the evidence is irrefutable before issuing a death sentence. Conclusion. The death penalty remains one of the most divisive issues in the United States. While some see it as a necessary tool for justice, others view it as a flawed and unjust system. Through my research, I have reaffirmed my belief that the death penalty should exist, but only for the most heinous crimes. At the same time, I have gained a deeper appreciation for the concerns raised by opponents, particularly regarding bias and wrongful conviction. With reforms to ensure fairness and accuracy, I believe the death penalty can remain a just punishment for the worst offenders in our society.